Hello and welcome to Unfuck Your Mind. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis. And in today's podcast, I have a good friend, Vanessa Petronelli. She's an international spiritual teacher and speaker for global leaders and influencers who are here to elevate the consciousness of humanity and the planet. An entrepreneur and business owner for 2 decades, Vanessa has helped transform and inspire thousands of lives around the world from the inside out, powerfully helping each person to become more impeccably aligned to themselves, their mission, and leadership. Through her quantum coaching method, trance-channeling events, retreat experiences, keynote speaking, workshops, and online group programs, Vanessa provides grounded, strategic, results-based transformations for her clients and students, all through learning to embody and lead from their soul and higher consciousness. Vanessa is originally from Toronto, Canada, and now resides with her husband and rescue dog Leo in San Diego, where she enjoys the sun, sand, surf of South Cali life. Welcome, beautiful soul, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's really lovely hearing my intro from you. And just, I was just kind of thinking about just our journey of how we've known each other and all the growth and the experiences we've had, you know, to get to this point of where we both are in this podcast interview. It's just been incredible.
I know, isn't it kind of funny when we sit here and look at it? Like, we have this amazing conversation before the podcast, and then, you know, here this all is, and the Palladians are like, well, we're going to take over this call. Like, this is our podcast. Thank you for being the vessel to this whole wisdom that's about to come through, right? But at the end of the day, this is what it's really all about. It's really about us being authentically who we are without apology and stepping into our divine power.
Yeah.
So, I have a lot to talk to you about because I know you on a personal level, and I know you on a spiritual level, and I know you just to be who you are. And I love every part of the divine feminine you are. And I've always used the example of what would Vanessa's divine feminine do? Because I was in that state of masculine a lot. And I've embraced the feminine inside of me more and more as you've shown me the softer parts of me that you've pulled out of me and allowed me to cry on your shoulder at times. So I want to go back to, basically I want to go back to the transformation that you inspire other people to live in their authenticness and their trueness, and how that really comes to form with you, for you, and for others.
I love that. Yeah. So I feel, you know, when I look at how my mission and my purpose has unfolded, the core to everything that I believe that we're here to experience as human beings is living from the essence of who we are. It's living from the most ripe, from the most authentic, from the most alive, passionate, juicy part of ourselves that has not been touched, that has not been influenced by the experiences and the relationships and the conditioning we've had as human beings. And for me, there's just such for every person, and for myself included, there's just this sweet spot of knowing when we're living and embodying that essence. And I think for majority of people, they, you know, maybe even listening, I'm imagining that they'd be like, well, how do I know that I'm even living from that place? Like,
yeah,
what do you mean? Because it's such a, you know, esoteric, mystical way of describing your authentic self. And I think a lot of it has come from, it's when we are children, we're in such a pure innocence. Inside of us, there are these dreams and these visions. There's these passions, there's these interests, there's these likes and even dislikes around certain things that we just live so freely and openly as children. And it's the most innocent part of ourselves, the part of ourselves that hasn't been influenced or touched by life, by external circumstances, by the conditioning. And then as we grow older, that's when we start to become more influenced by what's happening around us and what our parents have taught us and, you know, what society says we should do and who we should be. And we lose touch. We lose that connection from this essence that is really who we are. And so it feels actually more foreign to us as human beings, especially as adults, to live from that essence than it was, you know, when we were children. It feels like, well, how do I get access to that? And I mean, I think you're a stand for this, as am I.
Yeah.
It's really about creating the intentionality of like, if that is something you really want to embody and experience your life from again, you've got to be willing to do the work to get there. And that really means being ready and willing to change and transform all the parts of yourself with love, right?
Mm-hmm.
With love, not with rejection. Just, I want to get rid of those parts of myself that they're not my essence, but really embrace them and work through them and do the transformational work to peel the layers back until you find that again. And that when you find that place, that is where true fulfillment resides. And that's the heart of all of my work. If you're living, I don't even care if you call yourself a light worker.
Yeah.
You aren't fulfilled and you are not living from that alignment to your soul, to your divine plan, to that essence within you. Screw what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're here serving all these people. You're still not living it from the most authentically expressed part of yourself, from your essence. So it's really, I think that what we're here to experience, the transformation that I love assisting my clients and students with is living and leading from a fulfilled place. And my specific demographic tends to be working with what I've defined as light leaders and change makers and influencers and visionaries, you know, so, but this can speak to anybody across the board.
Of course. And that's the thing, right? Like I always say, being gone through depression and this dark veil that I held on for years and stuff like that, that might have defined a period of my life or anyone's life that's listening to this. That is something that maybe we thought we were. We thought we were those fears and those doubts and the guilt and the resentment. But getting deep down into the nitty gritty of that, it's, you know, once you do it once and you fall back into it again, it's easier to get up all the time. And you're like, but this wasn't me like 5 years ago. How is it me again? Right? Like, so when we step into that essence, and I remember when I was going through depression and spirit was just be like, just be of service. I'm like, dude, I'm fraud right now. Like I can't put the smile on my face and be like, oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord, because there's no praising within myself. Never mind praising the Lord. Lord's inside of me. How can I do this? Right? But I always said this, the universe will always send you clients that the message that you need to hear is the message that they need to hear.
Yeah.
And that's so big, right? That's like the releasing of the veil, the empowerment, the embodying of true self. And not everyone's going to appreciate that part of you. Mm-hmm. So what were some of your journeys that got you there? I know the Palladians are like, you guys talk about me right now. Like,
can't you just filter your way through the conversation and what we're saying, Palladians? This is not your conversation today.
Yeah. No, it's going to become their conversation, but there's something obviously higher that's coming forward that needs to be said. Mm-hmm. Because it's the Palladians that help us through a lot of things. And I mean, the title part of everything, right? So where were you when you decided to make this change? Like, I know you were doing the modeling, but bring us back to that part when you felt unfulfilled and not in true alignment of your soul's purpose or your soul's journey.
So before I share that, I want to preface it because I also want to say that all of the experiences we have where it doesn't feel like we're connected to our essence are all the clues and the spiritual ways in which spirit's weaving itself through us to help us get back there. Yes. So it's not like all the depression and when I've been misaligned or when we haven't been fulfilled or this or that. They're all a part of the human experience we're having. It's almost like I find like we're born knowing who we are and starting life, experiencing ourselves through our essence. Mm-hmm. And we go through this full circle experience if we are on that path, if we choose to have that path, if we're meant to have that path to find our way out of it and to find our way back toward it. And, for me, a big, big, big piece of my, this alignment came when I was in my 20s. So as a kid, I knew that I was here to help people. It was very purpose and mission driven as a kid. It didn't call it that, but it was very clear to me that I was here for a very specific reason and to help people. And then when I went into the entertainment industry, because, you know, Spirit spoke to me at 14 years old and said, you're going to go into this industry, you're going to help a lot of people, you're going to get to LA, you're going to be this famous actress, and you're going to have, you know, your name in lights, and you're going to choose projects that are going to help to impact the world in a positive way. I really believed that that was the vehicle to get me to this, you know, place where I could help people in a big way. And so I did that for 10 years. And, you know, probably about the 7-year itch, I started to really feel like there was something that was not right. It was just, you know, was no longer feeling fulfilling for me. And, you know, granted, I had started to do, you know, self-development and more spiritual work on myself. I went and, you know, through a big transformation in my early stages of my awakening. I think that was the catalyst to start showing me like something's not right here. And so the longer I was in this industry, I felt more insecure. I started to have more, I think that's the correct way to put it, like body image issues. You know, and the more that these external experiences of me not booking jobs or these losses or things happening where it wasn't previously happening like that before, but they started to happen around the 7-year mark, I started to feel worse about myself, thinking like, what is happening? Why are things not working out? Why am I not getting closer to this vision, to this dream I know of having this opportunity to go to LA and be this actress and do all these things? So I was acting, modeling, singing, all of it. And nothing was coming together. And it became so obvious that like it was misaligned, that this was the Spirit's way of saying, you're not on course anymore. Like we're starting to create ways for you to see like, hey, this isn't the place to venture anymore. Start going over here. But I was so defiant because I'd spent so much time in my life. Like I was so in the controller inside of me, the determined part within me, the part of me that was like, I am not letting go, refused to let go of my career to step into where I was meant to go. And so it took 10 years for that to happen. And my life coach at 23 saying to me, you're not cut out for this in our last session. It took a virus all over my face when I had set up appointments to go to LA and meet with agents for me to finally feel like that 2x4 was knocking on my head and Spirit was saying, you're done here, no more, you know? And that was where I knew deep down, Zach, like even though I was fighting this feeling and fighting this inner knowing, I was fighting it because I was so strong-willed. I was fighting it because I also knew it was true. It was like the truth hurts sometimes, right? It's like, it's true. It's so humbling, right? It's so humbling where it's like, God, I spent 10 years pouring my whole being into doing this.
Yeah.
And you're taking it away from me. Like, how dare you? How dare this not work out the way you told me it was going to? But at the time, I didn't see what was actually planned for me. So I knew deep down it was misaligned. I knew deep down I wasn't fulfilled anymore. I mean, how can you feel fulfilled and feel so insecure and so out of love with your own self on a deep level of acceptance and unconditional love? Like that there was a huge sign that, you know, if you're going to feel fulfilled, you're going to feel love. You're going to feel love for yourself. You're going to feel love for what you're doing. And I knew deep down that it wasn't my path anymore, but I wasn't willing to give it up until, you know, I was sick in bed for almost a month, barely able to drink water in a straw because my glands were so swollen. I had so much pain in my mouth and my lips because I had blisters and sores all over them. I mean, it was horrific, but it was eye-opening. And that's exactly what I needed to shift my course into what I've been doing now for over 10 years.
Isn't it so interesting that when we don't feel the 2x4, it's like, and I'm laughing because I've been through many journeys like that. But isn't it so interesting that they literally have to toss us in a bed to say, you know what? Chill the F out. get back within who you truly are, because right now you're acting like a fool and we're taking over, regardless if you like it or not, we're taking over. And this is what I like telling people all the time, like, okay, slow down. I don't have time to slow down. I'm like, and my face makes this look, like my clients know the look that I make, and they're just like, all right, I'll slow down. I'm like, you'll slow down, or it'll be cause to slow down, and you'd be pissed that you didn't slow down, because guess what? Add another week or two to that, so they could really pounce you in the head with that 2x4 and wake you up, because I've been there, done that, and I don't want you to go through it. Like,
right. I mean, that's also the reason why I think so many of our clients and students come to us, because we have the ability to look past, because we've been on this path of developing ourselves for a really, really long time. And we've learned through a lot of our mistakes. Now, people are going to have the lessons they're going to have, right? Regardless of whether they're working with us or not. But it's like we have the ability to have the foresight and the understanding of helping people to not have to repeat things or go through this long, drawn out suffering process, that we maybe had to go through in order to get into that full alignment and trust of knowing that spirit has our back and is like the wind at our sails, even in the darkest of moments in our lives. So I hear you on that. I know, it's like divine intervention is a real thing, guys. Like it's a real thing. And if you think you can challenge that and you think that you can stop that from happening, good luck.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, because I always tell my clients, listen, I could guide you through things, but I can't do it for you.
Exactly.
And I know you say the same thing to your clients. It's like, I can't do it for you, but you know what? If you allow yourself to go down that path, all I'm going to do is laugh at you, because I already warned you. But you didn't want to listen. So guess what? Enjoy that part of like calling me and be like, I don't feel good. It's like, you've been warned, but I can't do it for you. And at the end of the day, it's what you want. So it's hilarious. Okay, the Palladians, we get that.
Our good old Palladian friends. So just so that also, like, go ahead.
Yes, can you talk about us? Yes, she will talk about you guys. So who are the Palladians? Because you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've tapped into energies and because you've done it for so long, but I never put a title to anything. I was always like, it's God. It's God. Who is it, God? Who is it, God? Because at the end of the day, to me, it never mattered until someone would say to me, oh, that feels like the Palladians. Oh, that feels like the Orions. Oh, that feels like this. And I'm like, listen, I don't know who it is, but I'll tell you this. It just feels crazy, powerful, and they have some great ass wisdom. So like, take it all in, But they want to be heard. They want to be known. So I'm going to give that to you, because that's you.
Yes, the Palladian guides are the non-physical entities that I trance-channel through. So just so you guys who are listening have some context around it. When I started doing channeling work, I was working predominantly with archangels and ascended masters and people's higher selves. For majority of the years, that was my work, bringing that through, and not in a trance medium state, meaning my eyes are closed. I have these beings that have basically taken over my physical vessel and are channeling through me, and my voice is slightly different. And so several years ago, my trance medium channel opened even more than it already had. I mean, when I say opened, blasted open. Blasted friggin' open like you wouldn't believe, to the point where I was even feeling pretty humiliated and embarrassed in the group, experience I was in, that was having that process facilitated for us of opening the channel. And I didn't actually channel the Palladians at first. I had other extraterrestrial entities, benevolent entities. I would like to, just input that there, because that's important, because there are malevolent and then there are benevolent, and I've been trained in a lot of this as a Zach for many, 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 many years to know the difference. But I started to channel through the beings from Sirius.
Yes.
So they came through, and the Lyrans came through, and the Arcturians came through, and I believe there was another collective group of beings, but I can't remember now. And then one day it literally was the Palladians that came through, and it was a very different energy. They made themselves very known, and it felt different. It felt different than any of the other beings. Not that there was a better or worse,
Mm-mm.
But when they would come through, they would bring through such an energy of like love and joy and bliss and just pleasure. It feels pleasurable for me to bring them through. I mean, every time I know that I'm going to channel for a group or, for a client, they come through and I know, because I start to smile, I start to feel giggly. Like even before we got on this podcast, I was like, yay, I'm ready to do it. And I'm like, this is not always me. I'm not always this giddy and upbeat and uplifted. I'm a happy person, but the Palladians have this extra oomph of that. And they are fifth to seventh dimensional beings. So this is what, they've told me. They're fifth to seventh dimensional beings. They live and reside in the Pleiades galaxy and star system.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, the best way to put it is they are us in the future. And they've come back in time. So this is where it gets a little confusing and really esoteric. Like WTF, okay.
With us. Just
stay with us.
I'll explain it all to you.
Yes. And they are here, part of their assignment, and I'm imagining not all of the Palladians have this assignment, but a large portion of them, because I'm not the only channel on the planet of the Palladians, you channel them, many other people channel them. They have come through to help us in our evolution and consciousness on this planet. And, it's important to know that the shift that we're going through in consciousness on this planet is not just about planet Earth.
No.
It's for every other star system and galaxy out there that gets impacted by this. And we have a lot of beings from different planets and star systems that are rooting for us and are also have an agenda to assist us or not assist us, right?
Mm-hmm.
For us to really fulfill this consciousness shift that we are in agreement with on our timeline. So the Palladians have come through at this time because they offer this accelerated and expedited way of helping us to get into full alignment with who we are. And they call this the magnificent self. So the essence of what they talk to in very, blatant, obvious terms is, this is your magnificent self. And it's time for us to embody and live from this place and to operate from this place. And what's so wonderful about working with these beings is just how helpful they are, just how much they want to be in service with us. And they do not want to be seen as gods or goddesses. They don't want to be, worshipped. They simply are, and they always say this to every person that they talk to, we are here to offer you another perspective, perhaps a higher perspective from the consciousness that you're in on your planet right now. Take it or leave it. You like what we say and it resonates and it feels like truth for you, work with it. If you don't, throw it in the garbage can. And they really, really support us in our sovereignty around making our own decisions and doing what we feel is best for ourselves. But they are funny, they're playful, they're humorous. They're all the things that I feel as human beings we've forgotten to adopt and to bring through, especially as adults. And so they have a very, very childlike energy, but a wisdom that obviously is not from this planet at times, because some of the things that they say, which when they channel through me, are very precise, impeccable, and intricate. It's so funny. My dog is jumping up on my lap as we're talking about them.
Because he feels
the channeling sessions. He always comes up and he wants to be a part of the energy. So, they're spectacular beings, and it never ceases to amaze me and, just inspire me of what they have to say and what they have to share when they come through, because they're here to really help.
Yeah. And I love that when you're describing them, they're like, could she just say the word soft? Like, we're soft too.
Yes, they are. They really are. Yeah. Yeah.
But what they want you guys to know when she says the magnificent self is that it's your higher consciousness. It's your higher self. So that's the magnificent self. That's the powerful you that they want you to tap into. And they'll bring you this messages like all sorts of different ways. And that's that's a beautiful part, because I asked the Palladians, because I went through, when I start channeling in, when I start realizing the Palladians, and it was like, well, why does Vanessa's eyes close? And why does this? And why does other person's eyes close? Because I was so confused as to why doesn't this happen to me? And they're like, do you remember when you told us? And I said, told you what? And they said, you wanted us to have your head pulled back and your throat facing forward so that people believe that you're channeling. And we were like, are you feeling okay? You want to look like that in front of people? Because then you're going to be like, why do you make me look so dumb in front of people? You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting how I had to go through the process. But I asked them, like, how long have I been channeling you guys? And they said, since the day you landed on planet, they told me. And I was like, I was kind of taken back, and I'm so grateful for so many things because I never asked who they were. I always just felt comfort, you know? And that's the beautiful part. The more that you trust in that process, I found, it's like more beings want to come to you because they're like, oh, look, she just doesn't even like, she just trusts that it feels good, it's right, it's aligned, let's give it to her. Right. And that's amazing. So I love your channel. I've been to a couple of your events. I've felt your vibes, and I'll never forget, because here you are doing this channel, and I think I got the same message. Remember I was saying to you, Vanessa, they gave me that same message 2 days ago, and it was so funny because we were holding space for each other at that time. And at one point I was like, oh my God, you guys are coming on so strong to Vanessa. And they're like, take pictures of her. And I'm just like, take pictures of her. I can't even keep my eyes open. They're laughing. They're like, well, we told you this information because we wanted you to take pictures of her. And I'm just like, oh. So it was so awesome. I remember taking pictures of you, and I just felt this beautiful light come through you, because when you get in that place of grace, it's like you could see the angels just, you know, singing down through you. So thank you for being that channel and being that light for those people, and for not for those people, but for people that come to you, because, you know, we all attract our tribe differently. Yeah. Right? We all attract different messages differently. We deliver differently. Hence why I always say, guys, Vanessa was the feminine. She would pull out the feminine out of me, because I was always like that masculine, bum, 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 because it was my survival mode most of the time because of everything that I went through in my life. But that's the most beautiful thing. And look, they're laughing at us. They're like, look at you two all getting intimate upon our energy now.
I feel them through my whole body. Like, it's so lovely. And it's, yeah, you know, and I think that there's a piece there that I really want to emphasize, because I believe that we all can be vehicles for spirit to channel through us in different ways. And, you know, I don't know if our path is going to be for everyone. In fact, I know that it's not for everyone, you know, being able to do what we do the way we channel. And, you know, I don't think that that's the path for every person, but I do believe that we have the ability to channel. But what really is required, whether it's bringing through your higher self or an angel or an ascended master or some other beautiful benevolent being that wants to assist you, is you have to trust. And there's different layers of trust. And this is a big thing, that the pieces that have been really coming through with the Pleiadians through me lately, especially on more of a general level, not as much of a specific level, but because that's more for the individuals that I work with. But on a bigger level is this idea of like really being in integrity and being in trust. Yes. You know, trust, and there's layers of trust, because I see so many people who are on the spiritual path are like, oh, I know how to trust. And then they'll come and they'll have a conversation with me, and I'm like, you really are being initiated into a whole other level of trust and surrender to this process, but you're not allowing yourself to do that. So trust is the biggest key, because I think when we do not have trust that there is this other beautiful like support system that is non-physical, that we cannot see, whether you call that God, whether you call that goddess, whether you call that, you know, Mother Earth, whatever it is, whatever that floats your boat, universe. There's a whole other, you know, way of receiving support and help on our paths and getting aligned to that magnificent stuff. But if we don't trust it, that's the biggest block for most people. And there's different, I call them initiations, because that's what they really are. There's the first level of initiation of just getting into, you know, the spirit realm and trusting that there's, you know, support there. Then there's a whole other level and another level and another level. And I don't feel like it ever ends, because we are becoming more and more back into this trust of the wholeness of who we are and all that is. And so that relinquishes a lot of the ego of wanting to be in control. And it's taken, I mean, I can speak for both of us, I'm sure, and you can share more about this. I cannot tell you how hard it's been to get to this place of being able to trust in this way, how painful, how challenging, how much suffering and struggle we've both been through to be able to be these channels that, you know, look so easy to everyone, where people will be at the event, they'll be like, I want to do that, I want to be like that. And it's like, okay. If you want it, then be careful what you wish for.
What you ask for.
You know, it's totally, it requires so much trust to be able to allow spirit to move through in a way that is most supportive for your own evolution, you know? And I think like you really hit on that when you said that just like the whole word just was in a spotlight of like, speak about trust, because this is where most people will falter. And this is where most people really experience resistance.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Like people always say, Zach, I want to be where you are. And I said, well, this is 25 years. This is more of a, this is more 45 years of doing this since 3 years old, but really consciously and unconsciously for the last 25 years more than anything. So the wisdom that's coming down and this morning I wrote a piece that I went back 2,000 years in my past lives to recognize who I was. And this work didn't come easy. It came with isolation. It came with becoming an introvert. It came with dealing now with social anxiety because I was so used to being on my own, and then dealing with the external energies and coming home. So careful what you ask for, because step one is really to have the courage to get out of your present situation, wherever you're not feeling fulfilled, to really trust the process of being uncomfortable in something new. So once you get through that step, then all these other doors are going to evolve and grow from there. But you can't say, I always call, it's so interesting when you say the levels, because I always say it's the universe's, corporate ladder that you have to climb out of. You have to start in the mailroom. You have to take out the garbage. You become the secretary. You become the team lead. And then you know what? You become the CEO and the president. But I don't even feel like I'm there. And I don't think I'm ever going to get there, because we're always learning, growing, evolving. Yeah, we might have these fancy titles, which absolutely mean nothing to me. But it takes time. It takes work. It takes blood, sweat, and tears at time, and people say, but you make it look so easy. Yeah, because I've been down that path. You've been down that path, but you don't realize the path that we had to go through. So before you could even trust, you have to have that courage to even take that first step, because once you take that step and have courage, it's like, okay, like I'm scared shitless that I'm doing this, but I trust. But now you have the courage to take that step. You're scared shitless. Now you trust. And now it's going to slowly start evolving, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part. Like I've seen both of us go through that. How many times have I cried on your shoulders? How many times have you cried on my shoulders?
What's happening right now, Zach? Can you see what's happening right now? Why?
Yeah, and it's true. You have to have support. Like, all my life I never had support, and it was difficult. Like no one understood us. No one really understood that sometimes you just want to speak and not want to hear the opinions or what you thought. Just let us release whatever we release and think that we're weird. I'm cool with that, and I know you're cool with that, but that's what it really comes down to. So courage. What are some steps that you're taking right now in your business? It's so funny that we call the spiritual thing a business, because it's really not, it's really a lifestyle. And when they say business, I could hear spirit laughing. They're like, imagine how the population of the collective is going to take that word when it comes to spirituality, the business part of it, right? It is what it is. Everyone's going to take your language differently, but that's the Palladians cracking up jokes to say, everyone cool down with all this stuff. Like we're beings that we deserve so much more than what we're living right now, monetarily, sexually, just in a place of happiness and all this stuff. But what courageous steps are you taking in 2019? This is, Vanessa, bear witness to what's about to happen to you.
Oh, I know. This feels edgy. Well, I mean, I've been really working on this vision, because I feel like and where I'm at on my journey now is, for 10 years, I've been doing a lot of the same kind of stuff. I've been doing a lot of private work and group work and workshops and smaller events and retreats. And, I've always known that my Hollywood background, my entertainment industry background has to blend with the work I'm doing. And 5 years ago, when I was living in Toronto, around the corner from you, Zach and I are pretty much neighbors. When I lived back in Toronto, I got the message that you're going to be working with people in, the entertainment industry. And I was like, okay, great. Show me how to get there. It took 5 years, guys. It was only late last year that, I was at the Emmy Awards, in a gifting suite, talking to celebrities about my work. Like you can imagine how I felt being able to say, oh my God, I can talk freely and openly with people in this industry. And they were ready for it. I mean, the response, the reaction toward me being there was so positive. It took me by surprise. And, I have some incredible things down the pipeline is to continue to bring this work into Hollywood, to really activate the higher consciousness within Hollywood and to further support those beings who are already at that level in their consciousness, the influencers, the people who are really already on this path of mastery, both personal and spiritual, to continue to support them as leaders in this, realm, in this work. Because again, what you said, we all need support. And I know that I really am here to support those people at that level. On a more ground level, I'm getting my book out. It's going to be done this year, and it's going to finally be published. I've known forever that I have a series of books that need to be written. And I've just have been like, last January, the Palladians are like, you're writing your book at the end of this year. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it happened. And, the book is already pretty much halfway done, which is really exciting. And I am calling in a book agent. I'm calling in a major publishing house for this book. And I really want to get back up on stages and speak. I channel. Yes, I have my channeling events and I have my retreats and my leadership events that I do, but I want to be now on other people's stages. And I would love to be at a TED Talk, not a TEDx, but a TED Talk. I'd love to see myself on major, stages like the Science and Non-Duality Conference, Awesomeness Fest, people's big international conferences and events. Because for me, it's really about sharing this message at a much bigger level and influencing more people. And, I dream of, being with Oprah. It's so cliche. Every person says that they want to be with Oprah.
I just took her off my list, actually. Not that I took her off my list, but she was on my board. And I'm like, you know what, Oprah? You're on my heart. I don't need to look at you every day. So I replaced Oprah with a hot guy because manifesting the hotness.
I love it.
I'm like, Oprah, I'm coming on your stage, but I need to actually bring me there, girl. So.
Yeah. And the thing is, Oprah and, major TV shows and radio shows, podcasts, all of that. I mean, that's kind of all, I think, par for the course as we begin this journey. And I will obviously want to go on tour with my book and continue to do my evenings with V channeling events and run my programs. But what I would say more than anything is, for the first time, I think, in pretty much my entire life, as somebody who's been a high performing, achievement oriented individual who really is devoted to her mission, I'm at this place where I'm really enjoying the journey. Like, I'm really enjoying the mystery of how everything's unfolding. So as much as I have all these visions, yes, I would love for these to unfold. Yes, I'm committed to taking inspired action to make it happen on my end and to surrender where I need to. And I'm also open to a lot of other wonderful things coming in that I don't even see, that I'm not supposed to see. So it's like, I have gotten to this place of such trust and belief in myself and in Spirit's journey with me and through me, that I'm going to be led to these incredibly inspiring and exciting adventures. And that feels really liberating, because then I don't feel like I'm as attached and gripping onto each of these things. Like, I have to make this happen. Like, I know what's going to happen. And if it happens this year, awesome. If it happens the following year, it's because I'm even more set up for that. And it's having those systems, it's having those structures, having the foundation that's going to really leverage me in a way that's going to allow me to have the right platform, the right success, the right people that are going to come to me at that time. So, this is going to be a big year. The book is definitely number one on the list. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what I create. I'm excited to see what, Spirit and I create together, Palladians and I create together. I trust the energy, and I know that it's taking me into what I've been told is a 9-year cycle. So it's a 9-year project that I'm in now, with the work that I'm going to be doing during this period. And we'll see what unfolds in it. So thanks for asking.
I'm so excited. Like, I watch your journey and I just smile, because we've had our talks and we were like, so what's up? And even though we don't talk to each other every day, it feels like we talk to each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's so funny that you say, like, you're on a 9-year journey, because I'm on a life journey now. There's no more years. This is it. This is the finale until I'm buried somewhere, and I don't know where they don't know. I don't know where I'm being buried, but this is it. This is the last stretch of what I have to do to, fill those big shoes that I have to fill in. And there's times I'm scared shitless because my past lives, whoo, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. But that's awesome. So we're coming near the end to the program. And I know that I told you we could talk all day, you and I.
I know.
But a few questions before we go. Yeah. What does living a miracle life mean to you?
Oh, let me feel into that for a moment. Yeah, I'm doing that spiritual thing that I laugh at. Let me feel into that for a moment. No, I really am, because I want to give you the most, authentic answer. The first thing that really comes up for me is, again, it's speaking to what we've been speaking to. It's living this courageous, trust-filled life that allows me to go into a state of flow.
State of flow. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like a state of flow really allows for miraculous experiences to happen. And there's just this belief and this knowing that miracles are going to come. And it goes beyond what the mind might be. If there's a doubt or disbelief, it's like, for me to be in such a place of knowing and having the courage and the trust that, wow, I'm going where I need to go. I'm calling in what I feel needs to be called in. I'm on this path. I'm on this journey forward, and I'm in the flow. I feel like the flow state always seems to bring me the miracles. Yeah, and I've seen so countless miracles, whether they're big or small, come into my life for many, many years, of things that I could never have created for myself. And it comes through this trust, this knowing, this belief, this connection that, again, source, creator, God, goddess, universe has me, holds me, wants me to experience life in such divine synchronicity and flow. So that's what I would say for me. That's what it feels like.
That's beautiful. It's like Abraham Hicks. Of course, he has to show up too, right? And he's like, yeah, that's what I call being in the vortex.
Yeah, totally. It's totally the vortex. Yeah.
Being in the vortex. Okay, next question. What does happiness mean to you?
Oh gosh, happiness for me, after what I experienced last year, I was on a big sabbatical last year, and I spent 2 months actually really going into sabbatical, or barely worked. I supported the people that were there with me, but it was the most minimal time I've ever worked in my life. So I'm not saying that happiness means not working. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is what I learned, because this was a big piece for me that for many years I was asking. I wanted to learn what it felt like to feel true joy. I feel like happiness sometimes is fleeting, there's just such a paradox between happiness and sad and all of that. But for me, happiness is the joy piece. And what I really learned is joy and happiness, if you want to interchange them and just call them the same thing right now, is from really being present. Yeah. From really being present to the moment and seeing the miracle in that moment, feeling the gratitude and the appreciation for what's in that moment. And I was put into a process last year, which was very challenging, very difficult. It was a massive death process to release the parts of me that were not in resonance to joy, and also to release the attachments of what I believed I could experience happiness and joy when I had certain elements in place in my life, or when I was experiencing certain things. And that was all cut off last year. And for 2 months, from July and August of 2018, I was put into this major sabbatical of really experiencing joy, when all of the things in my life that normally I would be in such tension and constriction around, I'd be like, oh, I can't feel joy right now because this is not in order and that's not happening. This is not working. That was all gone. It was that noise was gone. And I was in such reverence and just such pure present awareness that was joy. And I mean, on a real simplistic level, accessible level, joy is really when I'm living in my purpose and in my mission. And I'm not in my head, because as soon as I get in my head, I'm not experiencing joy. I really truly am not. And I feel presence really brings that. I feel more joy and happiness when I'm present in my conversations, in my relationships, in my client sessions, in my work, when I'm writing copy, whatever it may be. It's like when I'm present, I feel that joy there. It's as soon as I get into my head and I start going into the past, or I start imagining the future, or I start freaking out, or whatever it may be, that's when joy just gets sapped. And I think that's why so many people struggle with joy and happiness, because we're not present. We're not present to the miracle of life and the fact that we can create our lives to be what we desire them to be.
I always tell people, if you want to really find the meaning of joy, go to a third world country and watch people that don't have much live in pure happiness and joy, and thrive off that energy. Because at the end of the day, Spirit has put me through that so many times, of going to these countries and finding myself in the roughest of areas with like a Santa Claus bag, so that I could give like a deck of cards or a Barbie doll or crowns and, a coloring book. And when the kids see a gringa coming through with a bag full of stuff, let me tell you the joy that comes to them. And I've done this so many times, and the laughter, the hugs, the kisses, the gracias, Dios, like that's joy.
Yeah.
That is true joy. And serious, I guess they're coming through now too. Sorry guys, you're about too late, but we gotta go. But at the end of the day, if you're having a hard time accessing that joy, I think the best thing to do is jump on a plane and get to a place like that and find yourself in those places to really tap off that joyfulness that really comes through, because it's giving so much.
It's giving to others, and it's being in service to others. I really feel like service and giving and being generous in spirit and like true genuine spirit really brings joy too. I second that, and some people may not be able to get on a plane, but you can do it in your own city, in your own town, give other people. It can be to a shelter. It could be, to those who are, less fortunate at this time or not. It can just be even giving yourself to the people that are around you that are needing support or asking for help, or that you could give there and allow yourself and others to lean on you, on yourself, so I feel you on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And not having any expectations of what's to come in return.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one. As soon as you have that, then you're completely out of,
you're not joyful at that point. Yeah. You're just waiting for something. Okay, last question. What is one piece of advice that you would give someone that's about to journey on this path of spirituality? Let's refill into that one, guys.
It's a big one.
She's leaning in on this one.
Okay. I would say, really get support. I feel like too many people wear a badge of honor of saying I can do this on my own, or I can read a book. And while all those things are helpful, I'm writing a book that I want people to read, and for that to be a big part of their path too, but it's not enough. I would say that, when you get supported by a mentor who's been on this path, who has the experience, who's in integrity, who has the ability to show up and walk beside you, not fix you, because there's nothing to be fixed.
Yeah.
It's just to guide you through this process, to mentor you through it. I mean, it's the greatest gift we can give ourselves, because we're allowing ourselves to not have to go through so much struggle and strife, because just in and of itself, the spiritual path is discombobulating and it is destabilizing. It just is. It's meant to be that way. And when you have somebody who has been through it, who's gone through it and is going through it, I'm sure again and again, because till we are out of this form, we will go through it. Then, you have that guidance there to help you through this process. So I would say that's the big thing that's coming up right in this moment for me, is get support, get yourself supported, surround yourself with people who've been on this path and who know what it's like, and, understand what it's like, and release relationships or lessen your time around people who don't get it, because that's not going to help your process.
Yeah. And it's so true. They were saying something. It's like find the worthiness within yourself to get that help, because not only are you getting the help, but you're also getting tools and techniques that are going to work for you specifically. So yeah, you could read the book, and yeah, you could sit there and listen to a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and yeah, you could sit there and listen to your friends that may have jumped on their journey but keep on going back and forth due to fear issues. But when you get someone that's been on that journey, I totally second that, because back in the 80s when I was going through my spiritual awakening as a kid, my mom told me it was the devil coming through. And I was like, well, if the devil feels this good, man, I want to continue feeling him. Like, you know what I mean? Because they weren't brought into knowing all this. To them, it was all voodoo. So being where we are today, you always hear people saying it's a good time to be alive, because there's so many resources, so many people that you could reach out to that you feel aligned to. So Vanessa Petronelli, because I always have to say your whole name. I love saying Petronelli. Thank you. So, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
This has been a complete joy to have you on here.
Thank you.
It also comes from the Palladians as well. They're joyful to have us together. You know, it's such a pleasure. I know I could speak to you forever, and this podcast could go forever, because it's just our nature to want to share, and it's just our nature to want to bring, you know, that consciousness on a higher level. So thank you for your.
You're so welcome. Today. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
It's always an honor. And to our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this amazing episode of Unfuck Your Mind. We look forward to connecting with you again next Wednesday for Wise Woman Wednesdays. Until then, stay blessed and continue taking the courage to believing in yourself, to trust in the process, and to going for what you want. Bye for now.